Hey, what's up my beautiful weebs, Diavolo here, and today we're going to go over Megumi Fushiguro and his abilities so far in the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. Usually I'd like to talk about his history as well so far in the series, but with him being a supportive main character, he has got a ton to go over. So instead, I've decided to split it into two different parts. If you're strictly anime only, look out for spoilers as we'll be going over some of the feats that Megumi has done recently in the manga. I'll do my best though to save them for the end of the video, so just look out for the spoiler warning when it does pop up. Anyways, enough of the explanation, let's get into the abilities of Megumi Fushiguro. Megumi entered the Jujutsu Technical School as a grade 2 sorcerer. He is considered to have a high potential by Noritoshi Kamo, Maya Zenin, Satoru Gojo, and even Sukuna. Megumi's willingness to use hand-to-hand combat makes him different from other Shikigami users. According to Gojo, Megumi has even more potential and skill than Yuji. He is able to use physical attacks in combination with his Shikigami to entrap his opponent. While not as strong as Yuji, Megumi has been shown to possess a high level of physical proficiency, kinda like Yuji is with his speed and strength just to a lesser degree, but still, compared to a normal child their age, it is just mental. Like for example, look at when he was in junior high and easily beat up half the punks in his area. Although Megumi's technique makes it difficult for him to wield weapons at the same time, as his Shikigami need both hands to be summoned, he has started to train with polearms under Maki Zenin. He also once used a tonfa in his fight with Noritoshi Kamo during the Kyoto Goodwill event arc. Megumi has showcased a high level of tactical thinking. He is very capable of quickly spotting weaknesses opponents may have, being the person to recognize Hanami's branches as his weak spot. Inherited techniques are techniques passed down through specific families in the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. Some of the inherited techniques in this series are cursed speech and blood manipulation. Megumi's inherited technique is that of the Zenin families and is the 10 Shadows technique. When someone inherits the 10 Shadows technique, they receive 2 divine dogs. Other Shikigami can be summoned with an exorcism ritual where the user must defeat the Shikigami in order to make them submit. Once dominated, the Shikigami are under full control of their master and can be summoned using hand signs that create a shadow puppet of the respective familiar. The shadows act as the intermediary for the Shikigami conjuration, reflecting the shape of the user's hand-weaved shadow puppet and manifesting the Shikigami from tangible liquid shadows using cursed energy. After gaining more familiars, the user can repeat the ritual process to exercise and amass up to 10 different Shikigami. The summoning ritual for the Shikigami can be performed around multiple people. However, exercising the Shikigami with help nullifies the technique once the exorcism is completed. The 10 Shadows technique can be activated and deactivated at any time to manifest and dispel Shikigami as long as the user has enough cursed energy. As with any Shikigami, the more powerful it is, the more cursed energy it requires to summon. Shikigami of the 10 Shadows cannot be summoned when completely destroyed. However, the power left behind by the Shikigami is inherited by the others. In the case of the Divine Dog Shikigami, if one dies, the other will inherit its power and can be summoned in a far more ferocious form. The exception to this rule are any Shikigami that are summoned by combining 2 different shadows, such as the Well's Unknown Abyss. Megumi can also use the 10 Shadows technique to access a storage area that contains various different graded weapons that he can pull out at any moment during a fight. The current Shikigami that we have seen Megumi create in the anime are Divine Dogs, Divine Dog Totality, Nue, Great Serpent Orochi, the Toad, the Well's Unknown Abyss, and Max Elephant. Divine Dogs. Fushiguro summons 2 black and white Shikigami dogs that chase and devour curses. Megumi uses Divine Dogs to defeat weaker curses with their offensive abilities. They are also useful for tracking scent and able to warn Megumi of incoming curses or lead him to specific targets. Later, after the white Divine Dog was destroyed by the Finger Bearer, its abilities and cursed energy were inherited by the black Divine Dog, creating Divine Dog Totality. Divine Dog Totality is an improved version of the black Divine Dog Shikigami, which inherited the powers of the fallen white Divine Dog. Using Totality, the black Divine Dog transforms into a larger bipedal werewolf-like being with large claws. It can be summoned by Megumi Fushiguro's 10 Shadows technique and is powerful enough to contend with special grade cursed spirits. Nue, an owl-like Shikigami that can fly. Strong enough to carry a human, its offensive abilities are mostly dive attacks from the sky, but it does seem to also possess some electrical type ability, as we see in episode 18 during the final moments of the battle between Noritoshi and Megumi, before Inumaki shows up with a special grade curse close on his tail interrupting the fight. It's also useful for defense in a pinch. Nue's speed and dense wings allow for a powerful defense against physical attacks. Nue showed this ability by defending Megumi from a direct hit from Sukuna. However, Nue was unable to continue fighting afterwards and was called back by Megumi. The Great Serpent Orochi, a giant snake Shikigami which can be used as a surprise attack coming out of the ground and binding the opponent. In the fight with Sukuna, Megumi used Great Serpent's quick summon to his advantage. It served as an effective surprise attack that caught Sukuna in the snake's mouth and held him immobile high in the air. This allowed Nue to repeatedly strike Sukuna while he was bonded. However, Sukuna escaped moments later, ripping the Great Serpent apart and completely destroying the Shikigami. Toad is multiple large toads that use their tongue to pin opponents and hold them down. Toad is mainly a support type that Megumi refers to as quite weak. Megumi used Toad's tongue to quickly snatch Nobara's body out of harm's way. It also carried Nobara to safety in its mouth, showcasing that along with the Divine Dog, it can be a useful search and rescue tool. The Well's Unknown Abyss. Using a combination of two Shikigami, Toad and Nue, these toads can fly with increased mobility, as well as use their tongues to restrain opponents. Unlike its parent Shikigami, these toads are relatively weaker, but can be destroyed without consequence, and can be summoned as long as Nue and Toad are alive. Megumi first used this technique to fight against Todo in episode 8. Max Elephant is a large elephant with black markings on its forehead, the top of its head, its back, and its knees. Using the 10 Shadows technique, the user lays one hand on top of the other and adjusts their fingers to create a shadow puppet of an elephant head. The elephant is summoned from the user's shadow, but this requires some time as well as a large amount of cursed energy. Max Elephant is capable of unleashing a massive torrent of water from its trunk. The water is blasted with enough volume and pressure to flood an entire corridor and force Noritoshi through a solid wall to the outside of the building. This allowed Megumi to set up a follow attack using Nue since Noritoshi was virtually defenseless in mid-air. Okay guys, so at this moment, as episode 23 has been the latest episode to air, I've decided that from this point onwards, everything is considered a spoiler for anyone who hasn't read up to the end of the Shibuya incident arc in the manga. Well, that's your warning. Now let's continue with Megumi and his abilities. The rest of his abilities that we have seen so far in the manga are Rapid Escape, 8-handled Sword Divergent Scylla Divine General Maharaga, and his barrier technique, Chimera Snow Garden, which you will see hopefully in either episode 24 or 25 of the anime. Rapid Escape. By forming a shadow puppet of a rabbit's head with their hand, the user's shadow summons a swarm of dozens of rabbits. They are weaker and harmless Shikigami that serve as a distraction in a battle that uses their numbers to cut off the target's field of view. Megumi Fushiguro first used Rapid Escape to retreat with Yuji in the middle of their fight with Jiro Awasaka. 8-handled Sword Divergent Scylla Divine General Maharaga is the most powerful Shikigami that may be summoned via 10 Shadows technique. So far, not a single user of the technique has been able to exercise Maharaga. Divine General Maharaga is a towering humanoid figure with blades extending from its forearms and 4 wings coming from its eye sockets. Hovering just above the neck is a large wheel with 8 handles that continually rotates in response to new stimuli. Because it has never been exercised and tamed by a sorcerer, Maharaga cannot be used or commanded like other Shikigami. However, users of the 10 Shadows technique are able to summon it as many times as they want to attempt an exorcism. This means they are able to summon it as an absolute last resort against an enemy, forcing their opponent to take part in the ritual and to fight the general with them. The intention of this summoning is for Maharaga to kill everyone in the ritual. Divine General Maharaga has the strength to shatter concrete with a single blow and throw someone through multiple buildings with ease. It can also wield Sword of Extermination, which envelops its blades with positive energy, making it a specialist weapon against cursors who are born of negative energy. Maharaga's true talent lies in the ability to defensively adapt to any and all phenomena. As the 8-handled wheel above its back turns, this means that Maharaga rapidly heals and can develop effective countermeasures to all enemies and curse techniques it may come into contact with as the wheel turns. It is speculated that it does not just adapt to specific techniques, rather it seems to adapt to a specific attack, such as adjusting to all slashing attacks instead of just Sukuna's dismantle technique alone during their fight. This rapid regeneration and physical adaptation means that Maharaga can only be defeated by bombarding it with new attacks so heavily and so quickly that its entire body is completely destroyed before the wheel can start turning. And finally, Chimera Shadow Garden is the domain expansion of the 10 Shadows technique used by Megumi Fushiguro. While still incomplete, Chimera Shadow Garden floods the area with thick fluid shadows. This grants the user the ability to manifest multiple Shikigami as well as advanced manipulation of all available shadows. Megumi first manifested Chimera Shadow Garden by freely imagining himself going beyond his limits. The activation of this technique used all of Megumi's cursed energy, resulting in physical backlash. This also resulted in an incomplete domain expansion, but was still effective enough to enhance Megumi's 10 Shadow technique. The floor of the flooded shadows can quickly reshape itself into black toads that can grab onto Megumi's target. He can also surf these frogs to move quickly across the waves of shadows at high speeds. Multiple versions of Nue can be created as well, capable of flying around and attacking the opponent rapidly. Aside from creating more Shikigami, Megumi's manipulation of the shadows improved greatly as well. After suffering what appeared to be a fatal blow, Megumi was able to fake out his opponent with a shadow double. In order to finish the fight against the finger bearer, Megumi used his amplified 10 Shadows technique to hide in the curse's shadow with Divine Dog Totality and dealt the killing blow from behind. During the Shibuya incident arc, Megumi used Chimera Shadow Garden to enter Dagon's domain. He entered through a large explosive geyser of shadows that could expand to his allies. This allowed Maki to access the weapon cache within Megumi's shadows, or more specifically, Playful Cloud. So anyway, for now, this is all I can find about Megumi Fushiguro and his abilities in Jujutsu Kaisen. If you'd like to know more about him and his history in the Jujutsu Kaisen universe, feel free to let me know down below. I can't wait to see these next few episodes coming up in the anime, as we'll get to see the Chimera Shadow Garden along with Megumi body a special grade cursed spirit. If you have enjoyed the video, be sure to headbutt the shit out of that like button and leave a comment down below with whose abilities and history you'd like to know more about from the Jujutsu Kaisen universe. If you're new around here, feel free to subscribe for more similar content to do with anime and gaming, but for now, it's been your professional degenerate, Diavolo, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.